When it comes to The Young Wife, at times it can feel like a visual album as it delivers both the anxiety and the sense of overstimulation that comes with wedding jitters, but it leaves a few things unresolved to allow you to really get into the relationship that's being pitched. So, to summarize the film, Celestina is about to become River's wife, but for various reasons not really gone into, Celestina didn't want to have a wedding. She just wanted to be maybe a small party with friends, family, but River's family had different plans since they got a balloon, flowers, cake. River's sisters are asking about whether or not Celestina's going to take River's last name, and then when you add in Celestina's friends, who not only want to drink and be married, but one of her friends is her ex named Sabrina, who's questioning her recent decision to quit her job. Then, of course, there's Angelique, who's Celestine's mother. You can see that there's a reason why Celestina wanted this to be very simple, cute, but not what everybody's making it out to be. And what doesn't help is that with River, attractive young man, has potential, but that potential isn't currently being realized. And between Sabrina in one ear, Angelique in another, how excited his family is, his grandma Cookie kind of pushing the idea that, I love you, whether or not to become my granddaughter. Celestina's in this place where there's far more reasons to say no and just end this engagement rather than go through with the wedding, even though she has a lot of reasons to be a runaway bride. So, getting to the review section, the highlight for this is when it comes to Kelsey Clemens' performance, you feel every bit of anxiety and overstimulation she has. Because with River coming from a family of talkers, just having all these people going on and on, asking so many questions about what you want, what they think you should want, them taking initiative when you did not ask them to, it's a lot. And then with her mother being somebody who's not an escape for her, but instead of somebody who's adding on to the questions and making it even harder for her to really commit to this guy, again, it's anxiety inducing. And then comes Sabrina who wants to question, why doesn't your boyfriend know about this? Where have you been this past month? You said you was working for this promotion, then you quit your job. There's not really a moment's peace outside of when Celestina gets to speak with her, River's grandma named Cookie. And even with her, she may not be pressuring Celestina about the wedding, but she has her own stuff going on as a person. Probably one of the few who presents something as an individual that put an additional pressure onto Celestina that really make this day not something that can be cute, memorable in a good way, but potentially traumatic, and a reminder that when it comes to Celestina's parents, they never got married and they stayed together a long time, and maybe Celestina should have took that route. With that said, I have to admit, alongside the anxiety and the pressure that we see Celestina go through, and that being a highlight, it's also a highlight watching her relationship with Cookie, Sabrina, and just those two. Because I would say Angelique too, but I feel like when it comes to Shirley Ralph, she's just a presence on screen, and it's compensating for what they don't really put into Angelique. So while her charisma definitely shines through, I wouldn't say that she builds anything as a character or else her relationship with Kelsey Clemens' character. But in terms of Cookie and Sabrina, Cookie's somebody who I think acknowledges Celestina's anxiety, her questioning of all this, but rather than try to push her one way or the other, she just listens, as seemingly her person has done for years when it comes to her family. And even though she's kind of at the end of the rope about taking on other people's issues, traumas, and then trying to help them process it, there's something special about Celestina for her that allows it so that she feels like she can be vulnerable with her just as Celestina's being vulnerable. And it creates a very simple but still loving dynamic. And then when it comes to Sabrina, a bit more complicated. The two used to date. It's not clear why they broke up. It's also not clear what led to them staying friends after, but I guess, even though Celestina is bi, pan, whatever, maybe similar to my old ass, there's a desire to, even if you do get into a heterosexual relationship, you still want to have a connection to the queer community. Maybe. Hard to say. Again, there's certain complications here, but at the same time, depending on the relationship, there's more depth given to it than others, but we'll get into that more in a second. Point of the matter is, with Sabrina, there's still this sort of intimacy which allows Sabrina to maybe cross boundaries, maybe call out Celestina on her mess, even though she perhaps doesn't have the type of permissions that somebody who's in a relationship could do that with, which leads it on the fence topic. When it comes to River and Celestina, the first problem that's gonna exist for you is that River isn't in a good part of the first part of the movie, so maybe about halfway, if not a third of the way in, he's introduced, and even then, he's being pulled in so many directions because he came in late that there's only like one good scene between Celestina and River that makes you think, okay, this is a cute couple, black love to see it. But then as she starts breaking down the issues they have regarding him not sticking to anything, him not recognizing that she's putting all the work so he can do this sort of bohemian, everything's going to be all right, it really pushes you to wonder what led to them getting engaged. But just like we don't really learn why Sabrina and Celestina broke up, it's one of those things that aren't tapped into. So was it something that was financially based, even though Celestina seems to come from an upper middle class family? Maybe. Was it a health insurance thing? Was it because even in terms of coming up with theories, there's not a lot there. And then I don't know, maybe could be factored in that one of Celestina and Sabrina's friends recently died, and maybe that was something that was a trigger for her to think, let me latch on to a person who I love now in case something ever happens to them. Again, one good moment doesn't compensate for all the questioning that she has, even during the wedding ceremony I'm assuming it's the wedding ceremony. Sometimes this film kind of goes into a blind spotting type of artsy situation where it's either the actual thing that's happening just embellished a bit, or else the character is having a moment where they're trying to process something, and what we think is actual reality is just their fantasy in the head of something playing out, allowing them to process their anxiety and other issues. But either way, the potential for romance is there, but the execution just leaves you feeling like these two shouldn't be together. She should run for the hills. Maybe with Sabrina, it's hard to say. But overall, while we do appreciate how this film develops Cookie as a character, and do appreciate the relationship Celestina has with Sabrina, and even being able to get into Celestina's feelings as she embarks on this new chapter in her life, unfortunately, with the foundation of the film being a marriage that you can't really get into and sometimes don't feel like you can support, it makes it so everything built off that relationship feels like it's a little too flimsy, and if you ask too many questions, everything will just topple down.